G'day, welcome back. So we'll start off with a warning. There's no car work in this video at all. This is just a bit of a catch up and just to actually tell you about the project, what we got planned for this car, the Morris Minor here, and yeah, let's get into it. So this car belonged to a friend's uncle. He stopped driving it about 20 years ago when it developed a major mechanical problem, and he didn't have the resources to fix it. We know that problem's that burnt valve in the engine. It's missing on one cylinder, no compression. So yeah, he left it, doesn't drive anymore. It's just been parked up, not doing anything. So we thought we'd save it before it kind of disappeared into the ground, and dragged it back here and got started. As you've seen, it's generally in pretty good condition. Needs work here, there and everywhere, but we're getting on to that now. In terms of me, I'm not a professional in any of this stuff. I'm pretty good with nuts and bolts and taking things to pieces, fixing them, but when we get into all the welding, bodywork, rust repairs, all that kind of stuff, that's all pretty new to me. So if it's new to you too, come along, we'll learn together. If you know what you're doing, comments are always welcome down below. We'll try not to mess it up, but we'll try and get a good result with this and get this car back on the road. In terms of getting it back on the road, New Zealand has a bit of a funny system. We have a system of continuous registration. So the car stays in the system for as long as it's registered, or you can put it on hold. If you don't have it registered or don't keep it on hold, then it drops out of the system, and then to get it back onto the road, you have to go through a whole compliance process, which costs like $1,000, and it's the same process you go through if you bring a new car into the country or a used car into the country. So the car's got to be in pretty good shape. We can't have any rust. Brakes and everything else have to be pretty much perfect. So that's kind of forced me into doing that. Well, I was going to do it properly anyway, but that's kind of forced me down that track. So we can't leave the nice kind of aged patina. It's all got to be kind of rust treated, cleaned up, new brake lines, new brakes. Everything has to be tip top. Now you might ask, well, if you're going to go to that effort, why don't you just put disc brakes in and make it a bit more of a modern car? Well, as well as that whole compliance process, if you start modifying things like brakes or engines or anything that affects potentially the safety of the vehicle, then you have to get all those modifications certified. And again, that process costs an additional $500 to $1,000. So yeah, that's not really in my budget at the moment. We don't need to be spending $2,000 just to get this car registered and on the road. So we're going to get it back on the road, nice and as it is, with drum brakes all round and terrifying to drive and all those kind of things. We can do sensible upgrades, like we'll put in electronic ignition. We might swap to an alternator, might do things that make it better every day because we don't need to certify those non-safety related mods. But yeah, anything major like brakes, which I'd like to do, we're not going to touch just yet. We'll get the car on the road, get it looking nice, and go from there. In terms of support for the project, I'm incredibly lucky, grateful to have Supercheap Auto helping me out along the way. Now, Supercheap Auto, they're a retail car parts, tools, automotive store here in New Zealand, Australia and New Zealand. If you live in the UK, it's similar to Halfords, I guess, but probably got a slightly broader range of auto stuff. If you live in the US, I don't know, it doesn't really equate to Harbour Freight because they do more than just tools. They do, yeah, tools, car parts, oil, all that kind of thing. That's where you go to. That's where we shop. That's where I shop. But I'm very lucky to have them supporting me on this project. What does that mean for you? Well, you'll see lots of their tools and videos. There'll also be some separate review videos. But in my mind, the best way to review and kind of show you what the tools are capable of is to use them and do this project, and you'll see the end result. So about 90% of the tools I use are from Supercheap Auto. And yeah, we'll use them on here. You'll see the results. You'll see if they're any good or not. I'll kind of tell you things that work well, the things that don't work quite as well. I'll try and be as honest and kind of fair as I can be, and go from there. In terms of the paint. We're going to be painting this with Supercheap Auto acrylic paint. There's a choice of 2 colours. We have black and white, so we're going to go for a 2-tone finish on here. I haven't quite worked out which panels are going to be what colours, but we'll figure that out along the way. I think it'll look pretty smart. But yeah, so it's going to look nice, it's going to work well. That's all pretty cool. So I get a lot of comments about people wanting to support my channel. I'll tell you now, I don't do Patreon. I'm not in it to make money or do any of those things. I'm in it purely for me. So I don't want the pressure of having to perform like a seal for people who pay money to watch the channel. I'm happy if you just watch the ads. Please watch the ads. And that money that I get from YouTube, those 4 cents a month, go into better camera equipment and getting stuff done. If you really do want to support the channel, I do have a Ko-fi account, which is linked down below, where you can like chip in $3 to buy me a coffee or buy the kids an ice cream or that. But again, I'm not doing it for any of that. Purely, this is my recreation. This is what I do in my spare time. Just like bringing you along in the videos to check it out. So just do that. I suppose the only advantage, if you did kind of chip in money here, there or whatever, is the thing will get done a lot quicker, because it means I can buy parts sooner and that kind of stuff. But again, this is going to happen anyway. If you want to see it happen quicker, click the link below. But yeah, I'm not overly keen on that. More than welcome if you want to send me Morris Minor Parts, that'd be awesome. The PO box down below. But no, this is my recreation. This is what I do in my spare time. It's happening anyway, so just come along for the journey. That'll be awesome. So once the car's finished, we need a project for it to do. If you're from overseas, you're probably not familiar with a New Zealand classic film, Goodbye Pork Pie.
I'm driving.
He's just a little crazy. Where you going?
We're taking that car to Invercargill, boy.
I'll drink to that.
Well, in that, he steals a Mini, a classic Mini, and he drives it from Auckland to Invercargill. Auckland's somewhere near the top of the North Island. Invercargill's down the bottom of the South Island. I live on the South Island. We're not going to take this to a different island. We're going to do a similar journey, but starting in Picton, the top of the South Island. And we're going to drive this car 1,000 kilometres from Picton to Invercargill. So we're going to be taking this car to Invercargill on a bit of a road trip. Hopefully we'll have drones and fancy camera work happening and finding some history or something cool going on. So we'll make a cool video out of it. We'll see if this car's got the mustard to do 1,000 Ks in a day. Should we do it in a day or do it in 2 days? One of the two. Probably a day, because that's a bit more of an adventure. And yeah, we might see you out on the road there somewhere. So in terms of future videos, be great to let me know what you actually want to see of this build. I can go into whatever kind of detail the general consensus is, whether you want super detailed or you want a broader kind of thing or a mix of both. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to kind of show you what's what, because there's only so much grinding, drilling, welding you want to see. But if I can show you individual bits and pieces, to my mind, that's going to work a lot better. On each video going forward, I'm going to put in a chart or like a graphic at the end that shows how many hours I've spent, probably on each episode up until this point. I'll also do a similar one for the cost of what it's cost me to get to this point. So far our cost is a coil when we got it started in the first point, and a condenser. That's the only parts cost we've got. So we're about $60 into this build so far. That's before we've really started doing anything. So there we go, that's how it's going to work. Great to have you along. Thanks for watching, thanks for supporting this, thanks for all the great comments. Means a lot. And yeah, comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you for whatever happens next. Cheers.